Welcome to Saturday Morning Meeting for Suppliers, presented by 8th and Walton, the premier destination for supplier development, and sponsored in part by Dun & Bradstreet Credibility Corp., the leading provider of credit and credibility solutions for businesses. Today's show is 3 segments full of tips for suppliers, with topics like data analytics, international expansion, and new product design. Ron Tiarks of 8th and Walton is back to dig into his 5 steps for taking your company international, and then we'll meet James Farmer of the Harvest Group. We're here today with Dr. Matt Waller from Orchestro. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So what do you have for us today?
Andy, today I'm going to talk about how to move from a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle.
Oh, that sounds like a great move. So vicious being what?
Vicious being with the way companies currently are addressing on-shelf availability and just service issues throughout the supply chain.
And the virtuous?
The virtuous cycle is composed of 3 elements: pinpoint, prioritize, and prevent.
Okay, so what's pinpoint?
Pinpoint has to do with looking at the entire supply chain, the stores, the DCs, the ship from points, and looking for things like low days of supply, zero scans, stock outs, et cetera, et cetera.
And suppliers are already looking at a lot of these things, right? So what is different with this?
Yeah, so currently, with the pinpoint, companies are looking through reports, huge reports. Yeah. You can't identify very many problems that way. You've got to be able to look at them quickly.
Okay.
And then you have to be able to do the second one, which is prioritize. Prioritize based on your ability to affect it, but also based on the revenue impact and the cost impact.
Okay. So once a company has looked at the prioritizing, they've pinpointed the problems, they prioritize the ones that are there. The last one you said is prevent. How does a company prevent?
Andy, prevent is about identifying root cause. So you've pinpointed all these problems. You've taken actions on some of them that you've prioritized. Did it work? Did it not work? And the nice thing is there's statistical models that are out there in companies such as Orchestro that have tools that can help you identify those and solve those problems and then prevent them.
You talk about a virtuous cycle. So what you're saying is prevent it, do it again, prevent it, do it again, and keep that cycle going. Yeah,
exactly.
Great. Well, hey, that's great news for suppliers and good information for them today. Matt, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, we'll be right back.
Retail Solutions is the market leader helping advance reporting and analytics with Walmart suppliers around the globe. We manage the data for you, automate data integration, attribution, and reports, and then help you focus on activities that will drive the most value. To do this, RSI works with you to perform a business value assessment to identify the largest value opportunities in your business. If improving results in sales through better insights and execution and efficiencies are important to you, contact RSI today.
K-Stack, the leader in collaborative retail consolidation programs. We offer the supply chain expertise needed to navigate the challenges of selling products with the world's largest retailers. And we provide customers with a customizable, scalable, environmentally sustainable supply chain with the same advanced technology typically used by larger rivals. By leveling the playing field, K-Stack lowers distribution costs and increases overall margins. K-Stack, retail logistics is what we do.
Bentonville Commerce, less than 1 mile from the Walmart home office. You'll love the convenience, amenities, and customized options Bentonville Commerce offers. For more information or a tour, call 479-200-1112 today.
8th and Walton can help you become a smarter supplier with webinars and classes, services like custom training, consulting, HR solutions, and staffing. Visit www.8thandwalton.com to find out how you can become a better partner to Walmart. Sales Analysts. Build your skills fast with 8th and Walton's core classes. Order them together and save 10%. Go to 8thandwalton.com/classes now.
With me today is Abby Kiefer, co-founder and fearless leader of Red Clay Design. She's here to discuss some innovative new approaches to product development. Welcome, Abby. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Tell us a little bit about yourself and red clay, just for context.
Sure, absolutely. So by my personal background, time in San Francisco, Bentonville, Arkansas, places like Chicago, always been all about design thinking. And founded Red Clay after we saw product after product take up to years for a product to come to market and then not meet expectations, and said, when you take technology, apply design thinking, how can we get better products to market faster?
Got it. Very cool, very cool. So the whole idea is making sure that you've got sort of strategic product fit and you know that the customers actually want it.
Ready to go, yep.
How does it relate to what we hear about in terms of crowdsourced design, things like Quirky and 99 Designs do?
Yeah, absolutely. When we started looking at this retail trends and online growing faster, the need for more products that are better and faster became more and more important. But it's similar to crowdsourcing. More ideas aren't always the better ideas. And so we said, how could we take technology, apply a community of people, but get the right people and use technology to make it be the right people to get the right product to market.
I got it. So there's a process of curation that you do that improves the outcomes.
Exactly.
So it's not sort of the wild, wild west of people from all corners participating.
Totally. For example, really quick, we look at 99 Designs as pretty much an open call, which is great. Get as many ideas as you can. Red Clay, we really look at how can you get the right people onto the product at the right time. And so we curate the community. Designers have to apply to be a part of our process so that they're the right people. And then we facilitate a process that is a much more structured experience that gets the right product out.
Got it. So for a consumer packaged goods supplier, should they think about this? How could they make use of this type of process?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our projects start with a project-based experience where the supplier would post a creative brief that outlines what their product or packaging need may be. And then they are able to select their design team that they would like to work with. The call goes out to a community of designers about 500 strong, and they're able to pick the ones that they would like to work with. And once they've designed or selected their design team, then the platform solicits design concepts. The supplier is able to provide feedback on those and ultimately end with a product that's ready to start going into prototyping. And all that can happen within about 6 weeks.
What about on the customer side? Is there also, in lieu of focus groups, is there some customer validation that you manage as well?
Oftentimes, what a brand will do or a supplier will do is they'll actually pause midway through that 6-week process, take the 10 concepts or so that have gotten ferreted out at that point, and go share them with their community, either via social media or other sort of voting mechanisms that they have in place, and then bring that feedback back to the platform, and so they can move forward that way.
You got it. What sort of cost and speed advantages do you see from this approach versus sort of traditional agency-oriented product development?
Absolutely. So our main customer base, again, the supplier community to some of the largest retailers in the world, we're typically going out for using agencies and taking about 18 months to go from idea of a product all the way through to those first rounds of manufacturing. We're able to cut that down and do it in about 6 to 8 weeks. And not only is the time frame shortened, but then the time that their team is spent working on it is significantly faster and less.
And I guess the idea is that the fit is better as well.
Exactly.
This thing's been curated, you're getting a better product sooner that's more on target with what the customers ultimately want.
Exactly.
That's very cool. What are some examples where you've seen with packaging or products or different things that might highlight to a supplier how they could engage?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done a full gamut. Our sweet spot really right now is in the home goods and the consumer packaged goods arena. But within that, it's really run everything from, we always joke, from a picture and a picture frame all the way to big furniture. We've worked with 6 different Fortune 500 customers, been able to design packaging for them, been able to design cards, for instance, furniture pieces, you name it. We've really been able to work within the sphere that we feel comfortable in here in Northwest Arkansas.
How do you actually curate the designers? How do you get a good pool of people that are interested in participating in this versus maybe establishing their own identity?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually, one of my co-founders is a designer by trade, and we started with a very small pool, and that was intentional. We said it was far more important for us to have quality over quantity, and so we went out and hand recruited some of our favorite industrial designers and packaging designers to the community. And from there, we've done a little bit of online marketing to let the word out, but really have relied a lot on friend referrals out of that community to grow that in a very authentic way that keeps our quality really, really high.
I got it. That's really interesting. And so as you think about a typical engagement, what should a supplier do to prepare to take advantage for this kind of thing? What do they need to come to the game with so that they can make best use of this type of a process?
Absolutely, and it's a good question to ask, knowing that bridging the gap from how an agency typically would kind of handhold through the entire experience versus going at that fast speed online, there is some differences, and one of them would be making sure that you spend time with your team internally building that creative brief. What is the actual thing that we're out to solve? Who is our end customer that we're trying to reach? What are our retailers and our retail partners looking for? And spending some time noodling on that brief is really an important place to start. What's exciting about Red Clay is that brief can be done online with the help of those retail partners, with the help of some cross-functional team members, and it can be a collaborative experience all on Red Clay before you hit start and get going.
Got it. So we've got about a minute left here. What's your crystal ball look like? Where is this whole area of curated, crowdsourced design and project management elements that you're talking about, where's it all going next 5 years?
Absolutely. So we really are true believers in what we're calling the sharing economy, version of crowdsourcing, a version of curated workforce and labor force, and have this idea that not only is it something that makes sense from a business model side for the retailers and the suppliers, but as we start to look at millennial generation and how they want to work, this is only going to be a really awesome collision on track where more people will be doing
something
this.
Becoming natural for the millennials. I mean, this is not going to be a foreign concept to them, so it sounds like you're right on track.
Yeah.
Abby, thanks so much for coming in all the way from San Francisco for Retail Edge. It's been a pleasure to have you on today. The remainder of Saturday Morning Meeting for Suppliers will be coming up shortly.
We all have large libraries of data. Unfortunately, most companies never read what is in their library, but instead settle for top-line reporting. Beyond software that just automates, when we open our minds to being curious and creative with data, we discover the insights that build into remarkable ideas which deliver business growth. Here at the Harvest Group, we do just that. Open up your rich consumption data into a set of priceless ideas that grow the business. Are you ready to unlock the ideas buried in your data? Let the Harvest Group take a look at your business.
Bentonville Plaza, across the street from the Walmart home office. The best office location offers proximity and services like no other business complex in the area. Call 479-659-1260 today.
8th and Walton can help you become a smarter supplier with webinars and classes, services like custom training, consulting, HR solutions, and staffing. Visit www.8thandwalton.com to find out how you can become a better partner to Walmart. Sales Analysts. Build your skills fast with 8th and Walton's core classes. Order them together and save 10%. Go to 8thandwalton.com/classes now.
I'm here with Ron Tiarks, Executive Vice President of 8th and Walton's International Division. Be prepared. Build relationships, be a good partner, have a clear strategy, and seize the moment. So these are the 5 steps suppliers need to follow if they're going to be going international. So
yes, and they seem pretty obvious, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, suppliers should already know this stuff, right?
Exactly, but suppliers know how difficult this is to execute every day. And if you go international, it's going to be exponentially more complex to execute.
Well, let's talk about the first one. Be prepared.
Again, an obvious point, but it's also probably the most important point to understand. You're going to be ethnocentric in your views of the market. Your market views are going to be tainted by the success you've had in the market you're in.
And that's a challenge for suppliers, right? Because they know what they've done in the U.S. Now they take it to Canada, Mexico, someplace like that. They have to look at it kind of through different glasses,
exactly,
don't they?
And most of us learn the hard way by making a few mistakes. But it is the most important piece in your preparation and going into a market.
Okay.
So move with speed is something Doug McMillan talked about at the year beginning meeting. Sports analogies work very well for this. And you have to play with speed in any team sport today. And you have to be prepared. You have to study your opponent, know their strengths and weaknesses, understand their strategies, and therefore when the game day arrives, you're able to move with speed. It's a very important step.
So we've got the be prepared part. Taking a look at, with some different glasses, the country that you're going to be going into, everything else. What about building relationships? What does that mean?
Yes, at the year beginning meeting, constructive relationships built on trust is something Doug covered very clearly in the meeting.
Okay.
And in order to get into the international market, more than likely, this is going to be your path. You know, I want to be clear, being prepared will keep you there because you understand the market.
Right,
You develop your program, but it's your relationship with global procurement or the product development people.
So the Walmart home office side in the U.S., but then also the relationships outside of that and within in-country.
Right. Your network that you build with the Walmart organization more than likely is going to, your reputation is going to be built on those discussions, and it will introduce you to the international market. It will build your reputation beyond the borders that you're currently in.
Right.
If you do it right.
Right. Right. Very good. So after building relationships, being prepared, building relationships, and now we got to be a good partner.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, you know, your international buyer, they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to call your current buyer, and they're going to ask what your performance has been.
So you have to do a good job in the United States first before you go someplace else.
Yes, and again, that seems pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're not giving 100%, if you're not exceeding that buyer's expectations,
working with their programs, doing...
It could stop it in its tracks right there. Okay. I mean, you need, if you want to go international, you need to exceed their expectations. David Cheesewright, President and CEO of Walmart International, at the meeting made it pretty clear that his expectation is to have your best person on the account. And you are the best person, and it should be reflected in your performance.
And that's not only in the United States, but it's also, we want your best people outside of here as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're going to check on you. They're going to validate what you're doing. Being a good partner is going to be key in your steps to going international.
Okay. So be prepared, build relationships, be a good partner, and then have a clear strategy.
Now that you've worked hard, you know, to prepare, you've built your relationships, you've been a good partner, you need to have a clear strategy. And that gives both you confidence and Walmart confidence that you know your way forward and you can support their vision for the future.
Okay.
That's very key. And again, it was addressed at the year beginning meeting.
Okay. Tell me more about the have a clear strategy, though. Have you witnessed any of that or seen any of that with suppliers, as far as suppliers that did a good job with that when you were in international?
Absolutely. Those that came in and were prepared, studied the market, were a student of the market, and you know, had a detailed plan of what that meant, what their positioning was going to be, the segment of the market they were going to go after. That gave you confidence when they were able to, you know, explain to you what their approach was and how they're going to support your business. Wow. Very key.
That's great. So the last one, seize the moment.
Yes, seize the moment. You know, you've done all this work. You've prepared your way.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge doing all of these things. Now you want to seize the moment when it comes, and it could come as a result of a direct communication with an international buyer or an indirect way, you know, like we talked about before with global procurement or product development teams discussing the matter. And if you're able to get in any way, shape, or form, if you've got your steps all mapped out and you're ready to go, you can seize the moment. So it's kind of like a question that happened to a supplier just a couple of years ago. You know, they were asked, hey, we would like to try your item out in ASDA.
So they've got the phone call from a buyer.
Exactly.
And they were able to bring their product to somewhere else in the world.
Right. So within weeks, they had it on the shelf. And it performed very well. They had an 85% sell-through within weeks.
Oh, like that in the United States.
Very good performance.
Yeah.
But it didn't stay on the shelf. And it didn't stay on the shelf because they weren't prepared. They didn't know the market. They didn't have a clear strategy. You know, they were able to recognize that.
Did a competitor get the product?
So a competitor filled the space. They had a strategy. They understood the market, et cetera. It doesn't seem quite fair.
No, it doesn't. They were the ones that performed and did a great job. But again, like you said, it seems so obvious that you should know these things. But you're right. There's so often suppliers don't realize all of the steps that they really need to be going through to make sure that they're successful.
And it's really unfortunate. You've got a great product, and you probably have worked pretty hard. But, you know, if you want to go that next step, you're going to have to be prepared. You're going to have a clear strategy. You know, it is one of those things that I think is a significant frustration for the buyers or for the suppliers when trying to address this issue. But, you know, if you haven't thought about looking outside your home market and going international, you should. It'll make you a better supplier. It will sharpen your perspective and your focus.
Well, and I think having somebody along for the ride, somebody that can consult and kind of help you walk down that path, helps a lot as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, you need that objective approach. You need someone to work through that process with you, and you will definitely gain in your knowledge and understanding, and be challenged in ways that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, thanks so much for digging into this for us today. We really appreciate you coming in. So if suppliers are interested in international expansion, contact Ron at 8thandwalton.com. Saturday morning meeting for suppliers. We'll be right back.
Bentonville Commerce, less than 1 mile from the Walmart home office. You'll love the convenience, amenities, and customized options Bentonville Commerce offers. For more information or a tour, call 479-200-1112 today.
Are you a single parent struggling to meet your family's needs? Single Parent Scholarship Fund is here to help. Single Parent Scholarship Fund of Northwest Arkansas helps hundreds of single parents get an education. By providing scholarships and support, a brighter future is right around the corner for you and your family.
We should know, in 2007, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in organizational management. Single Parent Scholarship Fund helped make my dream a reality. My kids are so proud of me, and now they declare themselves as college-bound.
8th and Walton can help you become a smarter supplier with webinars and classes, services like custom training, consulting, HR solutions, and staffing. Visit www.8thandwalton.com to find out how you can become a better partner to Walmart. Sales Analysts. Build your skills fast with 8th and Walton's core classes. Order them together and save 10%. Go to 8thandwalton.com/classes now.
With me today is James Farmer of the Harvest Group. Welcome, James.
Thanks, Andy.
Glad to have you here. You've been on the show a few different times.
Yeah, I think this is my second or third time back on the show.
Great. Well, welcome back again. Tell me about what shifts you're seeing in the use of data.
Yeah, there's some really interesting shifts occurring right now. For one, people are starting to do neat and really creative things with data. For the first time, I'm starting to see the shift away from people actually talking about software solutions to saying, here's some really interesting business questions I'm beginning to answer, and new insight I'm actually starting to bring into the business and actually using some of the data that I have. The second one is there's some frustration in terms of just the cost of data. Unlike other industries, for our industry in retail and consumer packaged goods, sometimes acquiring data is a substantial cost.
Well, and I mean, I work with small suppliers, and it's so expensive that many of them can't buy the data. They really can't. I mean, if you're doing $1 million at Walmart, you can't go out and spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on data.
Yeah, and that's a problem that's somewhat unique to our industry. If you look to the left and the right at other industries, I mean, look at the financial world and the cost of actually acquiring the data feeds, the data streams that they get. It's very, very immaterial to their P&L. But for us in our industry, depending upon the size of your business, it can be extremely meaningful. Yet, it's a conundrum because in some instances, to really grow your business, you need that data and you want to acquire it. And so you're willing to invest, but how much can you invest and what kind of return are you going to actually see on that investment? And so what happens is we end up spending all of our money, we end up taking all of our investment and putting it into getting the data And then after we've done that, we have no money left, actually, or investment left to actually understand
understand what it means.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And really, that's what Walmart's looking for.
Absolutely.
I mean, suppliers need to understand that just having the data isn't really worth anything. It's
that doesn't
really,
get you anywhere.
No, it's in understanding
that doesn't get you anywhere. It's what do you do with it is where the real value is and the return on the investment. And last, there's a shift the shift beginning to occur of thinking about our items and analyzing our items and actually starting to pivot that and starting to think about stores instead. So across Walmart, there's almost 5,000 stores at this point. Yeah. And if I look at an item in a specific week or a specific month, I see a pretty static number. But when I pull that apart and I shift it and I say, okay, how's this item doing in all these different stores? I see a really different picture.
Well, and I think I think the landscape is going to change even more so as Walmart moves into the smaller formats. How does that landscape, how does that change things?
Absolutely, it changes it because now with the small format side, you've got small formats that have varying degrees of distance from a supercenter. Right. And so how your brand or your assortment, how that sells in a small format is likely extremely different than a supercenter. And you might actually want to make very specific assortment decisions in a small format store versus a supercenter.
So the opportunity shifts our mindsets to stores. Is this being done right now? I mean, how is it being done?
It is. It's beginning to be done. I think we're at the second or third inning in terms of the opportunity of really getting the growth out of data. Some of the people that are starting to do this, certainly Walmart's doing it. Yes. Walmart has a phenomenal innovations group, and that innovations group is thinking about the store, starting to analyze the business at the store level. There's other great companies that are starting to do it. IRI is beginning to do it. Mu Sigma is certainly beginning to do it, or is doing it. And at the Harvest Group, we're doing it as well with our data agency.
So James, how is the Harvest Group doing this?
Andy, that's a good question. What we're starting to say is if you flip over and you look at all these stores, you see a potential for huge amounts of growth. But then the question is, well, how do I find it? And so our approach and what we're beginning to do is actually take a model that's very similar to, like you have shopper marketing agencies today and advertising agencies and media agencies. And so there's a need for a data agency to not come in and sell you more data, but to sell you content and create content and ideas off of that data. And the approach that we take with that is what we call analytical sales ideas. When you look at the store level for your item, your brand, your assortment, at the store level, there's all these interesting patterns and relationships. From those patterns and relationships, you can actually call those down and build a set of insights and trends. And from that set of insights and trends, there's actually analytical sales ideas that tie back to a very interesting pattern you saw in the store.
Okay, can you give us an example?
Absolutely. If you think about right now in a seasonal category, there are seasonal categories that are really trending down right now. They're trending down, the season is over. Right. Everybody's planning next year, they're getting out of the inventory. But when you actually start looking for interesting patterns and relationships, you see something. And some of these categories, literally right now, while the rest of the country's flat, stores in Florida are up 100, 200, 300%. And you know why? No. Because the snowbirds are actually coming back down to Florida. And so that's what happened with zero planning that's occurring. But we actually find these interesting patterns and relationships. You can build insights and trends and a true analytical sales idea. In this instance, that analytical sales idea is there's a merchandising program, a merchandising plan we need to put in place in Florida next year. Because while the rest of the country is out of the season, the snowbirds are all coming back and they're buying in this seasonal category.
So
right now.
A supplier starts finding out this information. What do they do with it?
What you do is you now have a new mechanism to, one, grow your business, and two, do your business planning. Stephen Quinn recently said at the shop conference, retail today is a game of inches. With retail being a game of inches, instead of having just these go-to-market top-down strategies, if you actually take analytical sales ideas and find those patterns and relationships, those insights and trends that surface to an idea, and start stringing those together and more bottom-up planning, then you string those together and you have a plan that actually will generate another 10 points of growth.
And really right now, for a lot of suppliers, that's what they need is growth, right? They got to keep finding ways to grow and find new and innovative different ways to do that.
In the environment we're in today, absolutely.
Yeah, James. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us today, James. Saturday morning meeting, we'll be right back. Our thanks to all of today's guests. Watch next week and become a smarter supplier. I'm Andy Shook, and from all of us at Saturday Morning Meeting for Suppliers, thanks for watching.